Good morning, everybody. Welcome in this Q&A about logistics. Let me present ourselves a little bit. We're going to have 2 hours together, so let's get to know each other. I present you here my colleague, Louis. Do you want to present yourself, actually?
Yeah, so I'm a business analyst here at Odoo for almost 4 years now, and I'm specialized in supply chain and logistics in Odoo. So I'm trying to help people when you have like tricky use cases in logistics, but as well like implementing project as a business analyst.
So this is the reason why it's also a Q&A about logistics, because we have our expert over here to ask your questions. Let me present myself as well. So I'm Chloé. I'm consultant, a functional consultant as well, here since a bit more than 5 years already. Time goes by fast, actually.
Yes, true.
And I work mainly with partners. So I answer partner questions, I do trainings, I help them with their ongoing projects, and so on. And even though I'm not an expert in logistics, I just love this topic.
And you're quite good in logistics.
I'm getting good. I'm getting good at it. And the idea is to answer your questions today, of course. As logistics is a little bit more complex for a simple Q&A because you need context and so on, we tried to come up with something new as well. So of course the main focus is to answer your questions, but the idea will also be to do a little survey. We'll see how it goes. Normally you already have the survey in front of you, so you can go and answer the questions already. And why did we do that? First of all, to get to know you a little bit with the first questions. But after that, we are going to deep dive in some topics that are recurrent questions. Yeah. So those are questions that we receive a lot, mistakes that new consultants do here at Odoo, that our partners do, and so on. And so that will help us as well make sure that this is a little bit dynamic. We'll see how it goes. You know, we try and we see if we fail, we fail. But I don't think that we will do, because I think that it could be something very cool. We'll see. Normally you all have the link. If not, we can maybe add it again at some point in the chat. You can probably also see it on the screen, or maybe not yet, but you will see it on the screen.
Basically, I think it's on the description of each platform. So as soon as you go to LinkedIn, YouTube, or Twitch, whatever, you'll have the link directly on the platform in the description, so that you can click and start the survey with us, and let's see how it goes.
So we're gonna start a little bit with the survey. In the meantime, you can go and ask your questions. Like I said, we'll do a focus mainly on logistics, mainly on the functional part. If we can answer your question, if it's a bit more technical, we'll do. But the focus is not on that mainly. All right? We also check what we can do. As you can see, we don't have an RFID here. We don't have a barcode scanner with us, so we do basics regarding that. We don't have an IoT box in front of us. We'll see what we can answer directly, but you can already go and put your questions on there. We see that we have already some answers
That's great.
on the survey. Continue doing that. That's very cool for us. We also know a bit more about you if you do that. So that's very cool. If you can go on that survey and answer the different questions. All right. Let me jump a little bit in here and see if we already have some questions. At the moment, I think that people are still joining, of course. I see that some people don't have any idea about logistics yet. We have people joining from Amsterdam and from other countries as well. That's very cool. Currently, no other questions here either. So let's start with that little survey. That was perfect. The idea was that, to be able to start on some interesting and important topics. So the first question that we have is mainly a general question. It's more about on which version you're working currently. We see that we have a lot of people on Odoo 18. Of course, today we'll put the focus on Odoo 18. We're not going to go back to our previous versions, but it's interesting to see if you're there with us since a long time or not. The next question, maybe we can go direct to the next question.
And as you can see here, most of you are quite new in Odoo, using 18. So, which is good because this is the topic of today. But we see as well that some of you are working in Odoo for more than 3 years. So it's great as well to see the progress in logistics in this part.
Exactly. And mainly on enterprise as well. So we don't have that many people coming from community, from what I see. Your least favorite topics regarding logistics. Can I ask you what yours is, actually?
My least favorite topics. Wow, I think I quite love everything in logistics. I think the one that I really like would be maybe shipping methods.
Oh yeah, because that's a bit
with
more
the connectors and so on. And actually, about this one, we won't go too deep today about this topic because we do not have everything to test and show this part, which is quite convenient for me as well because this is my least favorite topics. But yeah, anyway, I think I like most of the topics in logistics. And yours?
I think I have a love-hate relationship with routes. I really love the routes. I think it's very fun, but when you have a problem, it's can be a nightmare. So that's mainly the reason. But we're gonna deep dive in that topic. I'm almost sure because it's an interesting topic and an important one as well.
Let's see a bit what you have answered already to that question. By just we'll see that later.
We'll see that later.
Okay,
you can just continue.
We'll continue
currently
on those ones, and then for the free text answers, we'll see them afterwards.
Yep. You actually don't have to wait for us. You can go and already answer some of the questions regarding my favorite topic. Well, I said it as well. Actually, I hate routes, so I think it's also routes. But yeah, so that would be my favorite topic. Do you have one actually?
I think my favorite one is routes.
Do you also have the love-hate relationship, or is it only love?
Okay. Only love for me.
Only love for you. Yeah. All right. And then we go to the next question, and then we'll deep dive into more specific question. Oh, valuation is one.
Yeah, that's a big topic in Odoo as well.
That's a big one. Depending if it's Anglo-Saxon accounting or not, and so on, it can get really complex. Without a lot of context, it's typically a question that's more complex to answer. Our routes, we have love-haters of routes as well, probably. Okay. Intercompany, interwarehouse, also a very interesting topic. Just continue to add them. That's very interesting for us to know what you actually want to see. We have somebody that's interested in everything. Intercompany, interwarehouse. We have more general stuff. For people that start, that's also something that we'll do in the survey, actually. We're going to go over those more general topics because without the basic knowledge on inventory, it's very complex to actually do the rest. So we're going to go over that.
Yeah, it's great. Here we have like 5 topics that seems relevant for today. We're trying to go to all of them. So the one that has the highest scores, 2 now, routes and inventory adjustments, okay, and the others are more related to intercompany valuation and more general questions. So we'll go over. That's really nice to see some answers from you guys. This gives us as well key metrics for the futures to know what are the topics to tackle the most when we are trying to answer questions from customer, but as well partners and so on.
Okay, awesome. I see that we also start to get some questions.
Yeah.
I'm checking here on LinkedIn one question about subcontracting. It's less in the logistics part, but it's also with routes. We'll see how far we can go, the manufacturing part and semi-finished and so on. Mm-hmm. We'll see if we deep dive into that comping. We have some question about intercompany valuation as well here. So a bit more complex already. Yeah. But we'll deep dive into that. Just continue adding your questions. We'll go first over the survey and deep dive in some of those questions, but I'm not forgetting your questions over here, of course. I'm checking on my computer. That's why I'm watching here, because I'm checking out your questions. I'm checking on Twitch, on YouTube, and on LinkedIn, so you can just ask your questions everywhere. Right? Currently, we have mainly questions on LinkedIn, actually.
All right. I think we can move on and start answering questions about topics.
Let's go.
Stuff, right? So the first here is about type of products. So that's really important in Odoo. So what should you do if you mistakenly assign the wrong inventory type to a product? That's quite general in Odoo. And that's part of the first topic, making sure that you start with the right configuration when configuring in logistics. So here you have different propositions. You can, of course, answer, and then we'll discuss about this together. So what we talked about the product type now is this has changed actually in 18. Before we had the consumable and storable. Now it's not the same word, but it still does kind of the same behavior.
We still have the product type. Maybe you can actually show the product type already.
I will show you now.
Yeah, so he's gonna switch between all the screens in a very fast way. He prepared that well. So we're gonna go over the field product type, so that you show it. But previously we had two different types of goods. Maybe you can tell us more about that.
Yeah, so basically what we had is that we have the consumable one, which is a product that is not tracked in stock mainly, so it doesn't create any stock valuation layers, for instance, but you can still move them in the stock easily. The most important one is what we call the storable one, which is here the type of product goods and tracked by quantity. This gives you the possibility to actually know how many units you have in your stock, and as well tracking all the movements, all the moves that we talk in Odoo.
Exactly.
You'll have also the possibility, because this product is tracked, to have the valuation for this product as well.
Yes.
So here, as you can see here, the track inventory, you have different type of tracking. We can go over them later if needed. But basically, the standard one will be the by quantity, right?
Exactly. So that's the basic configuration on a product. If you want to do some logistics, have logistic flows within Odoo, is to have a product type good and track it by quantity. Now, what happens a lot, and that's part of an implementation when you start with Odoo, is that you assign the wrong inventory type, or you forget in Odoo 18 to actually track that product by quantity. The reason why we added this question over here is because that error is a little bit more complex to handle if it's not done well. So we want to highlight that point for people that start with logistics.
Yeah.
Can you tell us more about that?
So
what are the answers?
Yeah, we have some answers, like the two here at the beginning: change the inventory type directly or archive the product and create a new one. We have other possibilities: delete the product and recreate it, disable tracking for the product. So this two last is not actually the answer. Here actually what we focus on is making sure that we archive the product and create a new one.
And why can I not delete it?
Because basically, it's always good to keep the archived product as soon as you would like to recheck something based on this product. And it's always better to archive than delete.
We don't like really to delete. We're not a fan of deleting stuff. Maybe something else. Previously, we could change the inventory type, and then they removed that option.
Yeah.
Why?
Basically, it's mostly technical. I cannot answer fully to that question. But basically, you have stock valuation layers. So those layers are the ones that gives you the possibility to value your product. And those ones were created a bit in a hidden stage when it was consumable, and when changing and stuff, we had some issues. So we decided, technically speaking, to force the user to not actually change the type of product.
It's mainly to avoid errors. So it's not to annoy you with anything. It's not to annoy us actually with that, but it's mainly really to avoid other errors, hidden errors that we wouldn't see otherwise. Maybe there will be improvements in the future, but we're working on the product, and there are a lot of things every time that we're working on, and maybe it's not a priority at the moment or not that easy. But anyway, what's important here is to make sure that tracked is set well since the beginning, since the start. All right.
Yeah, exactly.
So
I guess now would be nice to see maybe if they've answered questions. Sorry.
Yeah, we can go over.
It could be like on whatever. We can go forwards after in the survey afterwards as well. But start to have some question and answers.
Exactly. We have people from everywhere. We have people from Bangladesh. Somebody's already asking something about intercompany valuation, but that's maybe a topic that we'll handle just after, because we have quite some things to say on that, and some things that we can do previously. We have some little thumbs up. Thanks a lot. Continue to do that. We spent 2 hours together, so let's be happy together. How to handle transfers in 2 steps, where one user would send and the other would receive, and handle the discrepancies between the sent quantity and received quantity.
So still in the intercompany, maybe?
So we don't have any information
Okay.
about intercompany or if it's inter-warehouse. Now what you can maybe show is configuration general. The idea of what's a two-step. How do you put things in two-step, first of all? So how do you handle those kind of configurations? Maybe do it inter-warehouse currently, and we'll see afterwards if we need to. It needs to be done intercompany.
Okay, so basically here, what you have to configure if you would like to, if you would like to actually configure two steps deliveries, for instance, or two steps receipts, is to go to the warehouses here, and of course before that going to settings and activate the routes. So multiple step routes.
An inter-warehouse question. We
it's
just received the information on LinkedIn.
So if I well understood the question. Because it's inter-warehouse, what they would like to see is as soon as I deliver a product to the other warehouse, I should have a receipt on the other one.
From what I understand here, we need a delivery on one side and a receipt in the other warehouse, and how to handle that.
Okay. The inter-warehouse flow could be triggered from different ways. What we could see, for instance, is by going to the warehouse here. Let's imagine that, of course, this is not my warehouse name, but let's put warehouse 1 here, and we have a second warehouse, okay? As soon as we have two warehouses, we can actually trigger the resupply from.
That's maybe the most important thing.
Yeah.
When we speak about routes, don't make your life complex, okay? We want to keep it easy. And one of the things that you should always do is start with the configuration of your warehouse.
Exactly.
So this is exactly the one we speak about.
Always focus on standard first and see how it goes. So basically here, the resupply from activate automatically a route. Okay, which route? This one. So the supply product from warehouse 2. So if I rename this one as warehouse 1, okay, as I mentioned before, it's like from warehouse 1, I supply product from warehouse 2.
Okay.
So this triggers this route, and we have here two rules. We are already starting to go a bit deeper in the configuration.
Let's jump into it.
But
it's a love-hate relationship.
Yeah, exactly. So this is what makes sense. We have two rules. Okay, this one here, we have the receipt, as we can see. Okay, because why? It goes from inter-warehouse transit location, which is like an intermediary location that will be used.
Could you kind of see it as the truck location?
Sorry?
The truck location, if it's in a truck, you put it in a truck, and then
sure.
during the time that's in a truck, it's in that inter-warehouse.
Yeah, just between two warehouses. So here you have the destination location, which is the stock of your main warehouse, right? And what it does is, as soon as you have a need in this inter-warehouse transit location, what we do is that we try to trigger another rule in order to actually bring the product from the other warehouse. And this is related to the supply method. I won't go too deep in the technical aspects, but what happens is that as soon as this one is triggering the other one, which is this one here, we have a move of product from warehouse 2 to the inter-warehouse transit. Right?
Okay. There is an adding to the question, so elaborate on how we achieve that inter-warehouse location. Actually, we didn't have to do anything for it.
No.
Just make sure you create two warehouses, and those two warehouses, and then activate on the warehouses where it's resupplied from. Once you've done that, Odoo does it for you. So that's the good thing, and that's the tip, and the reason why you should start with the configuration of your warehouse of your warehouses first. It's because it will create the things for you.
Exactly.
Right?
So what is quite important as well is that on this route, I will show you it again. So here, what is quite important is that this route will be only triggered backwards. Okay, so it means that we need a product in the main warehouse. So how can I be resupplied for that product? I can be resupplied from warehouse 2. Okay, but if you would like to have the flow being in the two ways, let's imagine you have a product from warehouse 2 and you decide to deliver it to your warehouse 1 without really a need created, then you could change this to pull and push.
Okay.
This will give you the possibility to, as soon as a product is reaching the inter-warehouse transit, it will push, it will create actually this rule, so that the product will be actually moved in the end to WH stock.
Don't be afraid if the part about push and pull isn't that clear. We have 2 hours together, so we're gonna go further on the push and pull parts as well.
I think what I can do here is, for instance, from the replenishment dashboard, imagine that you have a product, let's say propeller guards here. This product, you would like to have a minimum of stock in your main warehouse. And let's say you need 5 units of them in the minimum quantity. Okay, so it means that here, what is really important is that you would like to be replenished from warehouse 2. So here, what would be the best scenario would be to actually choose the supply product from warehouse 2. If I'm doing this, I will use this route to be replenished from this warehouse, okay?
Yep.
So I can here, for instance, select that route and order once. Here you can see that in that specific location, the on-end quantity is at 0. Okay, so this is why now, even based on the forecast, you see that you have to order 5 units. Okay, we'll go a bit deeper in those fields maybe later when talking more about replenishment. But here, if I click on order, what does it mean? It means that it created here directly the receipt for this product. Okay, and the receipt here is for the destination location being WH input. Why? Because I'm in 2 steps.
Yeah.
Right?
And
so
how can we see that you're in 2 steps?
So here, maybe first what we can show is that we have in the other warehouse, let's check that together. Let's group by warehouse.
Yeah, grouping by warehouse always makes it easier.
Yes. And here you see you have a waiting delivery from warehouse 2. Why is it waiting? It's because basically you do not have the stock neither for this product in that warehouse.
Yeah.
But as soon as you'll have some stock, let's imagine here I force the quantity, or even I can go on the product and put some quantity on hand. That would do the best
That
thing.
would be the best way to do it,
So
of
here,
course.
if you go there and go to the on end, you can create, for instance, for WH2 stock, a quantity of 100, let's say, and you can go back now to your out transfer. And here, if I check the availability, now the quantity has been changed automatically to 5 units. So when I'm validating this one, what's going to happen? Here, I will disable SMS. Here on the overview, if I group by again by warehouse, for instance, let's make actually this one a favorite filter, right? Default filter, group by warehouse. That's it. Now I have my receipt that is ready. Okay, so I can click there, and actually you see that the move of product is going from the inter-warehouse transit to the WH input location. And here, basically, you can just validate and receive the product in input. As soon as this is done, you have a next transfer. And this is new as well in 18. I don't know if you noticed about that, but this next transfer is new in 18 and gives you the direct link to the next things to do. So here you have the next transfer button, and you can move the product from WH input to stock. And that's it. I've been replenished from my warehouse too.
Awesome.
Okay.
That's a very good question, actually. I see some other questions going as well. What we suggest is we're going to go check our little answers over there of the survey, do one more question, and then we'll jump again in your Q&A.
Yeah, I will try to find again my stuff here. I don't know why. I will just exit this screen. Maybe I'm missing one. That's it. Okay. I will just delete this one just to make things clear for me and go back to the full screen again.
Perfect. Thank
you. So let's go back to the
next little question.
All right, that's really important, guys.
Very interesting one as well, eh?
Yeah, you can answer as well to this question to interact with us. Which location types are included in inventory valuation in Odoo?
It's actually a very interesting one because if I'm not mistaken, we have one on LinkedIn about inventory valuation. But in this case,
it was in intercompany, no?
It was in intercompany. We'll go first over the basics of valuation, and then we'll go a little bit further on the intercompany valuation. We'll tell you what we can tell you about that. All right? So,
what is quite important here to know about the inventory valuation in Odoo is, of course, how it works in Odoo to create valuation layers. Okay, so what I can show you is maybe go back to this. I will I've prepared some links to show you as well, because I think it's quite important, and these things can be shared to you as well. So this is a bit how it looks like when you create actually the valuation in Odoo. Okay, so how does it work? Basically, you have products, so goods in and goods out. Okay, and here it creates a valuation layer as soon as a product goes from an external location to an internal location. Okay, so as soon as you have this, then all the transfers and all the things will be created here with the valuation layer.
So examples of that are a reception, typically.
Yeah,
a reception where it comes from vendor location to the warehouse stock or warehouse input or whatever. That's already an example then.
Exactly. And what happens when we have the goods out is that we actually create also a valuation layer, but a negative one, because it is moving from an internal location to actually an external one. That will be the case for delivery, for instance, when you move product from your main warehouse stock to the customer location.
So that's a virtual location in Odoo at the customer or vendor location, but those are other types of location.
If we go back maybe to the, I will just switch again. I don't know why this, so here reporting, where do you find those valuation layers is in the valuation menu here under reporting.
Okay.
And you can see that you have all those valuation layers already created because we had some stock on, as you can see here, actually quantity updated by myself because I put some inventory quantity in Odoo. So this is why as well you have to create valuation layer when you update quantities, because actually it's moving from the external location to an internal one again. All those valuation layers that you can see here gives you the ID of the valuation of your stock that you can see here at the bottom. So that's quite important, and as we mentioned, we have all those created from delivery, from inventory adjustment, from receipt, so everything related from external to internal or internal to external. I don't know if we have
an answer already?
Yeah.
You kind of gave the answer already. If people looked well and were looking at what you showed, you need to show the results,
Okay.
You are perfect, guys. 100% internal and transit locations. Effectively. Maybe you can show where we can find that type of location.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Let's jump back here. Sorry, guys. All right. So, in the locations, what is quite important is that I removed the filter, but basically what you have is you have different location types. Okay, you have here the customer location, internal location, transit location. Transit, for instance, is related to the inter-warehouse.
Yeah.
Okay.
We also see the intercompany one, but we'll jump on that one afterwards. It's a bit more complex.
Yeah. So basically what is kind of important here is that everything that is under this internal location or the transit location will be valued in stock. Basically.
Exactly. So that means it is already valued when it arrives in the input location. It's also valued in the output location, and so on. Yeah. That if you create a new location, you have that field on the form.
Yeah, exactly.
You can also use that at some other moments. If you need to have something valued in your stock, you should always think about the location in which you leave it and the location type that you have on that specific location. All right. Now in intercompany, let's be completely clear on that. It's not that simple because in an inter-warehouse, it's still valued in the same company. We stay in one company. In the intercompany transit location, it's currently not valued in neither the company that sends it, neither the company that receives it. The reason for that is that there is not one specific rule. I'm not going to go in everything about intrastat and all of those other stuff. But there are rules in real logistics, and those are rules that things that you discuss with your supplier or with the person you sell it to, and then depending of what you decided and what you agreed on, the change of value changes at a certain moment or at another moment, certainly when export and import it has to be done. So there is currently in Odoo not something that allows you to say when you change that value. What we should also say is that Odoo is was mainly focused on little PMEs. Now it's growing, but bigger companies that have those kind of rules and so on and do a lot of export, import most of the time have also the necessary budget to add an extra functionality that would be specific to their needs in this case as well. All right, so there it gets more complex.
That's quite correct. And what you talked about is also about the Incoterm. This is this part like sharing the responsibilities of goods and so on in export and import of products. But here, mainly, why do we not? Why do we don't value the product in this intercompany transit location? It's basically because we do not have a company ID here on the location. It means that a product is valued only if it's owned by a company. Here, it's not owned by a company, so it means that as soon as a product is transferring to another company, it's not valued compared to the inter-warehouse. Okay?
So the only way to have it valued in one company or the other would be to have it in a location that has a certain company added on it.
Exactly.
There are
the only thing I wanted to add is with the, of course, internal location and transit location. We talked about
of course.
well.
Yeah, the type needs to be the good one. All right. But if you have a very specific use case, typically something that we would have to see on one-to-one with a consultant and go and deep dive further into it. There's no easy answer on that one. All right. So something very important in this that we just said is inventory valuation. We speak only about inventory valuation. We don't speak about the accounting in this case. We'll go back on that maybe later on what's the difference between the value within the inventory app and the value in your accounting. Good. We can go to the next question. That's something interesting as well, is when should you use a warehouse at a location? I've seen some questions also about locations in the chat, mainly on LinkedIn. I receive more questions over there. I'm going to check afterwards. I see that we also have some on YouTube and so on. But there was one as well with somebody that has 50 locations inside the warehouse and so on. So maybe we can first explain when we use warehouses, when we use locations, and then go further on tips and tricks on the locations. Because there are quite some things to say about locations themselves and how to configure them.
I think that it's quite normal to think that when you have two different places, you have to create two warehouses, but this is not always the case. So I won't say that now because I would like you to share a bit of more answers, guys, before showing the results. But basically, it's more about the structure, making sure that we would like to simplify the structure. Okay, so I will check here, and for the ones that answered, you're not right, but that's not a big deal. This is why we are here today. This is to share knowledge. So here, this is what I said before. When the distance between two buildings is significant, you choose another warehouse instead of a location. But otherwise, would be better to actually simplify the configuration and make sure that you do not overcomplicate with multiple warehouses when you can manage that with locations. So that's quite easy for this one. I won't show something on YouTube, but as Chloé is checking the questions you might ask on the different platform, I will go to the next one here. So what does Odoo recommend for stock that should not directly be available for sales order but still needs visibility? That's really important. And this kind of use case is something that we have quite a lot.
There's also related actually to location and how to build up your locations and so on. So just after we'll go back to your questions about those location and warehouse, but we just do the two surveys to see a little bit what you answer. So we have the different possibilities here. Create a new virtual partner location. We'll see what you answer.
Don't be shy, guys. So place it under a location directly below. Okay. Create a new virtual location under partner. All right. Use the transit location type for such stock. Okay.
We have almost all the answers actually.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
it's kind of blurry, eh? Nobody really knows.
No. But the best answer would be for sure the one here. So place it under a location directly below a WH. Why? Because if I go back to the sorry, or is it there? If I go back to my Odoo database, we can clearly see that what is important to know in terms of location is the way they are structured. So, as you know, most of the routes, and maybe you don't know, but I will tell you now, most of the routes here, for instance, for delivery, are related to the WH stock location, which is the really beginning source of products. Okay, and what is quite important is that if you do not want a product to be reserved for a specific use case, then what you have to do is to create, for instance, a new location. And here you can put, like, for instance, I don't know, what would be the...
Maybe you can have something, for quarantine products. Sorry. So so those are products. Be careful when we put them in quarantine. So we decided here to put it below warehouse. So that means they will be on our quantity on hands, but they won't be reserved. But they are also valued. The reason why they are valued in this specific configuration is because the location type is internal location. Yep. So here we bring our two things together. We check the location type, if it's valued or not, but we also check if it should be seen as on hand or not. Yeah?
Exactly.
But even though not reserved. All right.
All the products that will be in this location won't be reserved. So if, for instance, I take a new product, let's take a quick example actually. We'll just call it test quarantine. Okay, so that it's clear for you. Let's check here. Now, if we go into the sales, and let's imagine that we put some products first in stock in this location. So here I will just put the quarantine. I will put my test product. And here I will put a quantity of 10 products in that location. Okay. So it means that at the moment for this product, I have only this quantity on hand, but this is actually on this location. So if I go to the product itself, you see that the on-hand quantity is being taken into account with the 10 units in this location. But what's going to happen now if I try to sell that product to a customer? Let's say I create a sales order, test quarantine for 3 units, and now I confirm. I have a delivery, but the delivery here in status waiting. Why? Because you can see here that no quantity has been reserved for this demand of 3 units. Even if I check the availability, it doesn't reserve anything. Why? Because I do not want, when a product is in quarantine, to make it available for sales. And
Odoo is searching in the source location, and the source location will always be warehouse stock.
Exactly.
That's actually a very good introduction. We have somebody that asks us, I have 50 locations, so it's a question on LinkedIn from Ashwin. Again, I have 50 locations inside a warehouse. How do I enable, it's 2 steps, or transfers between those locations? Maybe the first question is, how do we create locations within a warehouse?
Okay, that's a good question. That's part of the basics, but that's really important in order to configure correctly. So what you need to know is that this WH stock location is your main stock. Okay, so all the warehouse is your stock. But this is the part of the warehouse in which you would like the product to be available for sales.
So we'll be able to reserve in that warehouse stock.
If now, answering your question, you have to create multiple locations like shelves, racks, boxes, whatever, then what you have to do is to create a new location. Let's say, for instance, shelf 1. Okay, and what you have to do is to make sure that the parent location will be WH stock in this.
Always, right?
Always, because here it means that as soon as a product will be reserved, if it's in shelf 1, it will be reserved from that location. Okay, so if we do it again, let's check that together actually. Let's take back our test product or whatever and put here the quarantine. Let's take that simple example again. Let's put 10 quantity now in that specific shelf. If I apply, and this is my inventory adjustment, okay, so now what I can do is go back to sales, and I would like to check again my sales order 11 that I created before with you. So here, if now I'm checking the availability of this product, you see that the 3 units have been reserved. And if you would like to know exactly from where they're coming from, you know that the main location is WH stock, but actually if you go in the button here, moves, you can clearly see that you have to pick the product from stock shelf 1. This is where the product is at the moment.
All right. So that's a good one. I see that we also have some other question about the quarantine. Can this strategy for quarantine stock also be used for companies that want the products in their inventory but do not normally keep it in stock? Example, they order it when the client needs it, or is this something best done with a drop ship feature? In this case, there are a lot of things in this question. Maybe we should clarify some different things because we won't be able to answer it just with the quarantine location. Clarify what dropship is, first of all. Dropship means that you don't keep it in stock. So it's also a functionality within Odoo, but you don't keep the product in stock in that case. It means that you will send it from the supplier directly to your client. Okay, so if you send it from supplier to your client, you don't need any location within your warehouse because it will never be in your stock. Another thing that's important is how do you replenish your stock, and that's maybe you could maybe show that about drop shipping if you want. We also have a question about Crossdock actually somewhere. So. Okay,
that's great. Your explanation was right. Dropship is mainly moving product from vendor to customer directly. Crossdock is like you receive it in input, and instead of doing what you do usually by going to quality, stock, and then pack it and output, you decide that, okay, you receive the product in input, let's put it directly in output and deliver the customer.
All right.
Let's just keep the stock part of the product. Okay.
But in this case, if you want to buy what the client wants, you have various possibilities. Either you have the dropship one, so it's sent from the vendor to the customer. Maybe we can show that. Either you have the Crossdock one, where you will take it in stock but send it directly to the client, or you have the usual flow, and there you have different possibilities. So let's do it step by step, because there's a lot that we can show over here, but it will be very interesting. Keep with us. Let's start with dropship.
Let's start with dropship.
Dropship, it goes from the vendor to the end client, guys, okay? That needs to be clear. So that's what we're going to show.
So the first thing you have to do is, of course, going to the settings and activate the drop shipping feature. As soon as you activate this one, you have the route that is dropship here, that is actually an archive and available for you to use. As you can see, it goes from vendor to customer directly. And this route, which is really important, is applicable on the product, but as well on the sales order line and product categories. This is really important when you manage routes. And here what we would like to do is, okay, we do not usually drop ship the product actually ordered from our customer, but what we do is that at specific point in time, we would like to drop ship the product. So this is why we have the configuration sales order line selected here. And I will use that one. So in order to do that, what I have to do is to go to product. All right, and here I will go to whatever the product, let's say battery, and see if we have a vendor on it. That's great. So here, battery, what is really important to make Dropship working is in the purchase tab here, you have to set a vendor. Okay, as soon as this is configured, you could actually sell this product as Dropship. I will just copy paste the reference of the product to make a new sales order. So here I will just go there. I will take whatever the customer, and here I can paste my reference. All right. So now what I would like to do is that normally this product I have it in stock, but in this case here I do not want to ship it from my warehouse. I would like to actually drop ship it. This is why I have activated the route field on the sales order line. And here, as you can see, you have the dropship route available. Let's use that one. If now we confirm, what's going to happen is that you have a purchase order created automatically. And this purchase order here is in RFQ. As soon as this one will be confirmed, we are going to create a dropship delivery. And as you can see, before confirming it, we see that we have a deliver to. So here we are using a specific dropship operation. And as well, we have the dropship address. And this dropship address is actually the address from my customer. So if here I go to the Aretech supplies, this is my customer. On the purchase order, we have exactly the dropship address. So now if I confirm, you see that we have created this dropship delivery. If I jump on it, here you see that you have the one quantity of this product, and the contact is the specific contact here. Okay, so we can now validate this one, and here my product is tracked by a lot or serial number. So let's create this one. I will just put whatever on it and save.
Yeah.
Okay. And now I'm able to validate. So this is how to do a dropship. All right.
Stefan is very happy because he understood his misunderstanding of the dropship feature.
That's nice.
So we're gonna go further on that as well. So here you can finish. You finished your flow, right?
Yeah. I finished with the dropship.
What we can do, we have also another question that we received on YouTube in this case about that Crossdock part, but also about how you can send something directly to your client in the end without putting it back in stock. And so on. So you receive things. They do it in things, so products. They do it in different steps, but then they want to be able to send it directly to a client if it's needed without going to all of the different steps.
So Crossdock.
So it's Crossdock. So as we have both questions, I think we can just join them in one, because in the end, it's another way of doing it. And then we'll go back on the last one, which is maybe you can show Crossdock again, so just to make sure it's clear what we're going to show.
Yeah. So first, this route is actually activated as soon as you have at least for your warehouse 2 steps in and 2 steps out here. Why? Because you need those locations being input and output created, and in Odoo they are created automatically as soon as you have this. This is why you have the Crossdock route that is actually an archive at that stage. Okay.
Something that's very important, and we say it again, always start with the configuration of your warehouses. You saw that since the beginning we didn't change any route in the end. We just used standard possibilities of Odoo by making sure the configurations that we had were the ones that we need. So just as a reminder, maybe you can show the slides of what we're going to show now as flow, just to have everybody on the same page. We're now going to show the Crossdock one. So it comes from the vendor into your warehouse, never goes really into the warehouse stock location, but goes from the input location to the output location and then to the client.
Exactly,
all right.
Exactly.
So that's what I say but that's what Louis is gonna show.
Oh, we can talk as we, and don't worry. So here you can see that you have the Crossdock route that is usable. What is quite important as well is, of course, you can decide for specific products to take that route. Okay, so every time you manage a flow with this product, you would like to do a Crossdock. But you can always decide on the sales order line as well. It depends a bit of your use case. Let's take the example of the sales order line, which is the easiest to show here because nothing else should be configured. So here now, what happens is that let's take a sales order here. I will take exactly the same one. But here, what I will do is that instead of using the dropship, I will use the Crossdock route. Okay. So here you see that's the Crossdock default one that is used, because here I have my previous warehouse name inserted. Okay. So what happens is that, of course, because you do Crossdock, you are going to trigger a purchase order as well. So this is why it is important to have on the product, again, a vendor. Okay. So that's really important here. And as soon as you are going to confirm with this Crossdock route, you are going to trigger this purchase order. Okay. Let's confirm this one and actually receive the product. Okay. So here you see that it's going to input. So I can validate. And here, of course, I need a lot of serial number. So I will just take whatever. All right. I can validate. Now it's in input. So if I go back to my sales order, here you see that now you have two deliveries, to be correct. So here the first one has been done thanks to the purchase, and now we have here on the delivery from the sales order this one that is done, and now we have to process the next one. This next one is well going from input to output. Right? So here what is great is that as soon as you are going to validate this transfer from input to output, you are going to create a new transfer, again, new in 18. So you can click on it and you can see that now it's going from output to your Aerotech supplies, which is the customer.
All right, and then you validate it, and then your flow is done. So that's when you do it from the start. Do you know if there's a possibility? Let's imagine that you first bought the products and then decide, because that's one of the questions that we received on YouTube. Is it possible to then not know that since the start that you want to do it, but take it in and then decide to bring it directly to a supplier, to a customer? So you mean that normally it should go through the stock, but finally you decide to put it in output directly? Yeah. Okay. So this is what we call most change
of the time,
of plan.
Yeah, of course. But that's we call the opportunistic crossdock. It's like at one stage you would like to change the destination of the product, and instead of setting the stock, you set actually the output. Yeah. So you could do that. If I just go here, what we could check together, mainly if I take this one here, let's try here.
Is it actually not easier with Odoo 18?
It is. Normally it is, because now we have more flexibility on routes. But let's check that here with my configuration.
All right.
So what do we need to do is we still need to purchase the product, right? Or do we have? Yeah, we still have to purchase the product. Yeah. But then it should go to stock. So here the route that I have to set on the sales order line is not the Crossdock and not the dropship. It should follow the standard one. Yeah, we don't know it actually at the moment that we sell it. Okay. But the only thing is, for instance, we buy the product, but is it buying the product exactly for that customer, or is just buying the product? I bought the product. So if I take the question exactly, it's here. Our customer receives a large delivery and checks it into stock over the process of several hours or even days. How can they make their stock they have already checked available for dispatch immediately? So in this case, they bought them. They have huge deliveries. They do it in several hours, so they have multi steps for the inputs, I suppose, because of different people doing the different parts. But then at some point, they want to make sure that they can, instead of putting it in stock, put it directly to the output zone then.
The output zone.
But exactly. They buy the product from the sales.
But they...
Not really.
No, in this case, it's reception first. So we buy a large amount and then we want to send it to a customer in the end instead of putting it in stock. Okay. So it means that as soon as it reached the input zone, I changed my mind, and instead of putting it into stock, I would like to put it in the output zone. Then you bought that product for that specific customer. You know that in advance, right? In this case, I'm not sure. Okay. It's really a case where let's try together, guys. I'm not sure to fully understand the question, but I will do my best here.
let's imagine here we have a product. Okay, let's take, for instance, landing gear extension. Okay, so what you mentioned, if I'm right, is that, for instance, you receive 10 units.
We receive 10 units.
You buy 10 units. Sorry.
Exactly.
So you confirm, you are in multi-steps, so it means that now you are going to put that product in input zone.
Yeah, so
you will validate this one.
This one will be validated. That's what I understood.
Okay, so the thing is, we do not care about the next transfer.
For me, the next transfer, that's the problem. The next transfer that we have now, if we check it, goes to the stock. And I don't want it to go to the stock. I want it to go to my output location for my client.
Okay, so you want to here change the destination location on your picking. So you want to put like output zone from there.
Yeah.
All right. So that you can do and validate so that the product moves from input to output.
Yeah.
Right? So if I validate this one here, that's okay. It's in there.
Yeah.
Let's take only this
product
reference. Sorry, I didn't want to.
And then check, how do we do the delivery from there now?
Okay, so now the thing is, let's create a sales order for that product then.
Yeah.
Right?
We could have done it, on the opposite, but that could work as well.
So here
we're testing together. That's part of logistics.
And
you need context. He asked for 10.
Okay. So here we confirm, and here, as you can see on the delivery, it is going from stock to output. But what you would like to do is directly delivering the product, right?
Exactly. In this case, you would take it from the output zone directly.
Okay. So what you could do here, you could, for instance, change the operation type in this particular use case. Delivery. Okay, delivery orders from warehouse 1, and it goes from input to the clients. Okay,
and it's going to check it directly over there.
Here you should actually deliver the product from this location. I will just check here, current location 10. All right, output available 0. Why? It's maybe because it's used somewhere else.
Let's go and check it. It's part of the. We're going to go and check on the product. It's a test database, so we do a little bit of everything.
So here we have
interesting.
This, and here we have the out.
It took it, from what I see here, it took it from the sale order that you just created. So actually, instead of, do you see it?
We'll just check here. The thing is, here we have this move that is waiting.
Yeah.
Right, and this is related to SO15. And if we go to the products, let me just check here on the forecasted. Let's go to the out 3.
It took it for
this one. Yes, this one has been taken directly from the PO actually. So the source document is the PO, and we deliver it here to the output. Let me just think, guys, because this use case I never really had to do it. We usually, what we do is that you have a sales order for a customer. You actually purchase the product for that customer, but instead of doing the normal process as putting them in stock, you actually put it in output.
I think that we would kind of need more analysis on that one. Maybe something that could be the case is to work with another route or something on the SO that tells that you take it directly from the output zone instead of from the and have to change things in the routes.
The thing is that here, yes, why do we have this being created? It's because it triggers automatically the push, I think, from the output to delivery. So that may be a good question, so that you can maybe write it down for us. If we do a next Odoo Insider in logistics, we might answer to this question at that stage.
We'll keep your question and we'll see if we'll go further into details. We will need more analysis on that. It's part of the logistics. That's why the Q&A on logistics can be complex sometimes, is that we need quite a lot of context actually for logistic questions. We'll just write it down, and then we'll see. All right.
Yes.
Perfect. Then we have quite some other questions coming as well. We had one also related to the different warehouses. Let me just find it again, because you getting there with all of your questions, which is awesome. That's what we want from you. I have a question here about, where is it? That's about warehouses. So somebody asked, the Crossdock function is something that we showed. We had a question also on... Well, I don't find that at the moment. You can just continue with that. But I have another one on dropship as well. Is there a way to add landed cost on dropshipment? It's on LinkedIn, and it's a question from Hussein. I'm sorry if I spell your name, if I say your name wrong. Don't take me wrong on that. Van Hussein. Maybe.
So is it possible to add
landed cost on drop? I'm actually interested about that question because what's the reason behind it? Normally, landed cost has an impact on your valuation.
Exactly.
And in this case, you're not going to value it because it's never going to go in your stock. So I suppose that during that time, you're not going to value it within your own warehouse.
No, the
or
thing
am I mistaken?
Yeah, the thing is they will be valued because they will go to the input location, which is valued.
In this case, it's dropship.
Okay.
It's
sorry,
a question on dropship.
Okay. For me, no, you don't have.
You don't have it.
Yeah,
now, I
right.
suppose that the question comes from something else. I suppose that the question comes from for the margin that you would take on the product. But that brings us to another question: is about the cost on your product and how to handle that. So maybe we can go on that topic a little bit. What do you think? So now there is no landed cost on dropship in Odoo. You have landed costs only if you take some products in stock, because the idea is to add a value on your product, an extra valuation layer, which is what you explained previously, on a product that you have in stock. All right,
exactly.
And not it's not the idea to actually just change the cost to manage better.
You're totally right. So I will just take a product that doesn't have too many
valuation layers.
Actually, I shouldn't have a lot. Let's take this one. Did I already? Okay. Let's take this propeller guards, and let's imagine that we are going to buy this product, right? But we would like to add some landed cost on it, right?
What are typical landed costs, for example?
Transport.
If it go to customs.
Yeah, exactly.
Things like that. So most of the time you receive another vendor bill for that.
So the first thing to do is to go to the settings, type it in landed cost, define here that is activated, save. And here what we have to do is to create a new product. That will be our landed cost product. Okay. And this one is actually the one that is considered as a service. Right, and we should have it changed a bit here, but yet this is on the purchase tab. So in V18 purchase tab, you have, as soon as you have selected as service, is landed cost. So you can directly set this, and you can decide also the default split method directly from there. That actually brings you to the fact that when you receive product and you have a certain landed cost, or you would like to split that landed cost over your receipt by quantity, by current cost, by weight, by volume, by different things. Okay.
Of course, if you use weight and volume and so on, you need to make sure it has been configured well.
Exactly.
On different products, otherwise it's going to give something that's not logical at all.
So here what I can do is just leaving it empty for the moment, and we'll see that later. So now I've created this. I can create a new purchase order. Sorry, I'm not. Sorry guys.
You want to be too fast.
Yeah, exactly. I will select a supplier. I will put the reference of my propeller guards, and I will add landed cost product here. Okay, I will put a unit price of 100, let's say, and let's imagine that we have just to purchase 1 unit of this product, right? So here now we can confirm this. And you see that you have to receive the product. Of course, here you see only the product that you have to receive. You do not see the landed cost, because the landed cost is actually a service product, as we've seen together. So now what really happens is that, let's imagine that you receive the product, for instance. You go through the whole process, and you put it in stock, right? So you have your product in stock, but now what happens is that you would like to actually tackle this landed cost stuff. So here, by creating bills, you see that you have the new button create landed cost appearing. So let's imagine that here I'm just putting bill date and I will confirm. And as you can see here, you have the landed cost line here with the price we have set from the purchase order.
Yeah.
Let's confirm. Yeah, maybe you want to add something before?
Yeah, just that sometimes you have it on another bill. That doesn't matter, okay? It will work exactly the same way, that you have it on the same bill as the product that you received, or that you receive another bill from the organization that's transported the good. That doesn't matter. You will still see that button on the vendor bill that contains that specific product. So you can create as many landed costs as you want. You can create one for transportation, one for something else, as long as the configuration is the one that you just showed.
Exactly. So let's here validate this one and create landed cost. As you can see, how it is structured now is that you have to create this landed cost and specify the transfer on which you would like to actually assign this one. And here I didn't check my transfer. It's in 4. So here I will just go back to my bill.
So what is checked is to which reception it's related.
Exactly.
Okay?
So because we have to actually make sure that we would like to value the product that has specifically reached the stock at one stage. So it reached the stock in the input zone. Let's put here the input transfer 04 that is actually related to our propeller's guard, if I'm right on the product. So here I can save, for instance.
In this case, you use the split method, which is equal. So there again, you can change it even though you...
Exactly. The default one will be equal, but you can split it by quantity. Here doesn't really matter because we have
one
unit, right? So that's quite easy.
It would be all the same.
So now we can validate this one and we can see the valuation that has been brought here. So what I would like to show you next is this part. If I go back to inventory, reporting, valuation, look at our group product view and propellers guards, you can see that actually these two have taken into account first the price of the product that we purchase, and then we have the total value of 100 that has been added. Of course, the quantity for this one is 0, because actually what you would like to know is the overall value of your product. So you have in total 100 plus 1, which brings to 101.
Yeah.
And then you have this amount here plus that one, which brings this value. So in total, you have for this product a value of 6,160 and a quantity of 101.
All right, awesome. Maybe a little extra question on that one, because it's a question that we had already from some partners. So in this case, the price on your purchase order was the one that you also had on your vendor bill for the product. I'm not speaking about the landed cost. What would have happened if instead of the product arriving at 60 euros, which was the price on the purchase order, it would have arrived at 70 euros? What would have happened in that case?
Yeah, so if I'm right, I think it's from V17. We've introduced that in Odoo. The fact is, Odoo is always checking at the bill price. That matters. So it means that if you received the bill with an increase in price being like 70, as you mentioned, we have an extra 10 euro for the value. Okay, so this will bring in the valuation layer an extra layer to take that into account, and not only taking the price from the purchase order.
All right, so Odoo is smart enough to know, as long as there is, of course, a link between the vendor bill and the purchase order, that needs to exist, of course, but it's smart enough to add that extra, or remove, I suppose, if the price would have been less, to add an extra valuation layer to correct that difference in price.
Exactly. This is
awesome.
automatic.
That's very cool, actually. We had some question from, in this case, I had you here. Where are you? About Thibaut Jules, if we can access those slides. And also another question from Jabran on LinkedIn as well. Does Odoo, FedEx and UPS integration support freight, collect shipments and so on? So all those questions are about the shipments. And I think that's a good introduction to show the smart class a little bit. Yeah. So those slides are available for partners that bought some consultancy hours. Because we have different smart classes, maybe you've heard about them already, maybe not. You can anyway ask your partner manager. We're going to show you a little bit how those smart classes look like. And when you go to those smart classes, you get access to the slides and even more. So in this case, it's the inventory one. The inventory 18 one is still in WIP because they're still working on it to make it perfect for you guys. But those slides are related to this. So it's those are advanced courses, really advanced courses on for experts of becoming a partner that would like to become expert on those topics for our partners. All right. And speaking about FedEx, UPS, and all those things about this integration, the best way to know more about it is, of course, to make sure you have test credentials, which we don't have, so we cannot go into details on that. But I just wanted to show you that in this smart class, is it already live on Odoo 18 or not?
Not yet. I think
the shipment parts
might be.
Let's go and check. So we have different modules about the basics. The questions that we took in the survey are coming from there as well. And we have something about, for example, the delivery methods in this case. There we get some extra information. At least in Odoo 17, it showed extra information about, for example, we see things about shipping documents. We see things about third-party shipping carriers. We can go into third-party shipping carriers.
Just to show you how it looks like when you buy this kind of service that we provide to partners, we can see how it is structured here and all the information you could have from this kind of advanced smart class.
And typically, if you go down that page, you have the services offered by the connectors.
Yeah, exactly.
So very interesting to know. If I don't know, or because I don't know it by heart, I don't know what a certain service offers, I just go there and go and check it out a little bit. So maybe you can just show the little screen for a second. Then if they want, they can take a screenshot of it. If you go down to the little thing, it doesn't matter. That's it. But there is way more in this smart class that I would recommend you. I would totally recommend it to you. Of course, I'm already convinced, so I'm convincing a convinced person. But I've done it myself, as I'm not officially an inventory expert. I give it as well, and you always learn something new. Also because you also always have a new version and so on. So there's always something to check out.
We are really going deep in the understanding of how it works in Odoo for logistics, but as well all the technical parts stuff. It's always great to see a bit how it works in the back end as well. You
take a lot of time to do that. They really take a lot of time. Believe me, they really take the time to do that. And then coming back, so now we've seen that Dropship part. We've also seen the Crossdock part. There was another flow, which is also how do you then manage to keep a part, some in stock, and buy extra whatever is needed for a certain client and so on. Maybe we can discuss a little bit the make to stock, make to order principle in Odoo.
Okay,
what do you think?
That would be a good things to show. So as you know, we have two kinds of, maybe I should take a slides as well to show you that. I'm just checking here why it doesn't go. No worries, I would just go there. I have some slides here, for instance, showing you this principle of what we call the make to stock strategy, so the MTS, which is more a push logic, while we have also the make to order strategy, which is related to backward in the chain, so pull logic. Okay, so this is a typical example of when you buy a product for whatever, you just want to buy a product and store it in your stock, then it means that it goes from vendor to stock and then stock to customer. Actually, when you trigger the sales order for a customer, it is only looking at products that you have available in stock. While when you create actually the make to order strategy, you actually, for instance, purchase the product for a specific customer need. That's really, really important. These two mechanisms are quite important. So if we go back to our database and see how it works together, we could actually check here the make to order route. So the make to order route here is normally archived by default. This is on purpose because we do not want people using it without knowing really how it works. But here we have the MTO, and what gives you the possibility is to actually purchase a product directly from the supplier when you have a customer need. And this is actually, I won't go too deep in the technical aspects, but this is related to this specific rule that is actually saying, okay, as soon as you need a product in WH stock, or as we can say it before, in whatever the location under this location, what you should do, you should actually trigger another rule. And triggering another rule is by buying a product. So
Actually triggering another rule depends on what you configured on the product.
Exactly.
So it can be buying, it can be producing, it can be different things, but so it will trigger, it will search for another rule to trigger on the product. And which rule? The one that's here, the route that's on your product in this case, so the buy route.
Exactly.
All right?
Exactly. And this is why here we need, for sure, to trigger that, a purchase order on the product. A vendor on the product. Okay?
Otherwise, you'll get an error message saying that it doesn't know who to buy it from, which is logical. If you don't give Odoo the information, then Odoo doesn't know what to do with it, and you get a pop-up message.
Exactly. So here now, if we create a new sales order for a drone product, okay, let's take that one, for instance, and take the route MTO. Let's put that on the sales order line, because for that specific customer, I would like to buy a specific drone. Okay.
All right.
If I'm always buying this product corresponding to a customer's need, then the best configuration would have been to go to the product and inventory, and here choosing directly the replenishment on order route on the product.
That's if you always do that.
Exactly.
All right.
Okay. So let's go back to our sales order here.
So the added value of adding it on the sale order line instead of on the product means that you can decide when you want to buy a drone specifically for a client, and when you just want to buy take it from your stock.
Yep.
In this case, that's when you don't put the replenishment route on your sale order line.
Yeah.
If you would have added on the product, it would always be the case. Doesn't matter what you instead. Well, it will always be the case if you leave the route empty on the sale order.
Yeah, it will use the default one by default. So here, if I confirm the sales order, I have my purchase order, and I can actually receive, so I can process, of course. So confirm, receiving the product, validate. Now I can go to next transfer, validate again from input to stock. And finally, I can go back now, because it's in stock, to my sales order. And we have one delivery that is already to go with one quantity reserved, okay? And I can validate and process my next transfer to the final customer. So that's how it works with the make-to-order strategy. As I mentioned, a make-to-stock strategy is more like you buy the product, you store the product, and you do not care about buying a product for a specific customer, okay?
All right.
All right.
Maybe some other examples of when you use the MTO route. I always give the same example, and people laugh about it. But let's imagine that I have a T-shirt, and you customize a product. So you customize a product. I buy a T-shirt, and I ask to add a picture of me and my husband on the T-shirt. You don't want to give it to anybody else. So this is typically a route where you want, even though Louis likes me and my husband, it doesn't mean that he wants a T-shirt with my photo on his T-shirts. So with customized products, it's typically a route I would recommend. But technically speaking, without going too much into details, there is a link between what you have bought and what you're gonna send to the client. So if you want to use that drone or that T-shirt, which will not happen with a customized T-shirt, but anyway, and give it to somebody else because somebody else needs it sooner or whatever, you're kind of blocked. You can force things, but it's not that easy. So there's also other ways of doing make to order or make to stock that are way more flexible, which is, I think, what you wanted to show us now.
Yeah, actually, we can do whatever. Basically, the make to stock strategy, as I mentioned before, is triggered from the purchase order. But you could have something like, imagine you have your replenishment dashboard and you have couple of orders coming in, and actually you manage the replenishment of your product thanks to this dashboard. It means that what you are going to trigger from here, for instance, for this specific drone, That's an example.
Mhm.
You could have the need of this product, and you have a buy route that is selected. It means that you are going to buy the product, and then whatever the product you buy, you could actually assign or reserve that product to whatever the sales order, as soon as it is needed. Okay.
That's also give more flexibility on what you want to do. If you have
Yeah.
multiple warehouse, you can decide where you want to take it from and so on. So that you have a lot more flexibility on how you're going to replenish and how you're going to dispatch what you receive
Exactly.
in the end.
Yep. Correct. I don't know if there are other questions related to other topics, maybe.
For sure, but I would have to check. Maybe we can go
Yeah,
back
I
on
can-
the survey in
Yeah,
the
yeah, I can
meantime and
check.
check the questions over there.
I don't know if some of you continued or not to answer to the questions here. I will just refresh. I
So
don't know.
if
I hope I won't
for the
lose
ones that
anything.
joined a little bit later, I will not have to refresh. We have a survey going on as well with some basic questions. Actually, not that basic, but questions that are very interesting for us as well, because we can show you way more about those topics. Those are questions that we receive a lot, or errors that are made a lot by either junior consultants or new partners that start with the logistic part. All right. So in this case, it's rather something about the vendor price list. Also very cool, a very cool question, I think. Of course, I was part of the decisions on which question we would add, but also a very interesting one. And as we see, it's kind of blurry because nobody really knows, as we have a lot of different answers. And the question is, if a product has multiple vendor price lists, so if you have more than one vendor, different prices and so on, what is the criteria to select a price list? So how will Odoo automatically select the vendor, the price that will be applied on the purchase order or request for quotation?
Yeah, that's really interesting. So here, if we look at the answer, we see that the right answer is the RFQ quantity matches the minimum quantity specified in the price list. Okay, I think for that one, it would be nice to show you as well another kind of slides that we have. I would just go to my little stuff here to look at, for instance, this. I will just remove the all slides. This is the kind of price list you might have on a product. I'm taking this example here because I think this is more relevant to really understand how it works. So we do not have any information about the date at which we are currently, but we are going to look at it together. Okay. So today we are on the 20th of February, right? That's really important. And now let's look at the different vendors we have on the product. So we have all those vendors, right? We have different fields, start and end date, quantity, that's the minimum order quantity. You have here the prices as well. So what is important to know is that the vendor that will be chosen will be T-Motor. Why? Because here, in this case, T-Motor is already here at the first place, right? But this is not corresponding to our date. So Odoo will actually move on and check what should be next. It's checking at this one, but actually the order quantity is 1000 battery premium. And here the quantity is for 15,000 and 12,000. So this is not the right quantity. Finally, we have here, for instance, T-Motors with here the same kind of dates that this one above, but we have here 5,000 quantity and the price here is 46. Okay, so in this case, what it means is that Odoo, will take the first price list available that match different criteria, and it will never check the delivery lead time of this vendor. Here it's 1 everywhere, but it could have been different. But Odoo is not actually taking into account this this delivery lead time into account, right? So here it will take this T-Motor with this specific price because we do not have any other criteria on the quantity. All right. So it's always a bit quite confusing for a lot of customers and sometimes partners as well. But this is quite relevant. We take the first one in the list when it's available. If we have at least 2 lines that are from the same vendor, but one is with a cheaper price, we'll go for that one. But we should make sure that we match the start date and end date as well the quantity. Okay.
It's something important to understand as well in the end, because we receive that question quite a lot.
Yeah, so that was a good one.
It's actually an Odoo logic in general, taking the first one in the list that fits the requirements is something that you see quite a lot in Odoo in general. So just keep that in mind for a more general part.
Same for routes, for instance.
We have that for a lot of different things. It takes the first one that meets the criteria, and that's it. Otherwise, it would have to give you an error if you have more possibilities and so on. No, in this case, it takes the first one and the flow continues. We have another question. Maybe we can go over it together. It's a question on Twitch as well. We'll see together if that's something we can go further on. I think I'm not sure I totally understand it, but we'll see together. It's one from Stefan again. I have a question that is also about logistics. Hope I'm not interrupting your presentation. You're for sure not, because the idea is for you to ask your questions, so don't hesitate to continue to ask your questions. Let's say that you purchase products from another company. So in this case, I suppose that you just do a purchase order, and its final destination should be your own warehouse. But the purchase needs to go through a freight forwarder. It's freight. I'm not sure how you say it. I checked. I'm not sure if that notion was known by you, but it seemed to be something about a third party that helps organize and coordinate shipments on behalf of another company. And he asked. Let's go back. So it needs to go to a freight forwarder. An effect of this is that the shipping address on the purchase order at least needs to change to the address of the freight forwarder. Is this of any relevance to the logistics in Odoo? With relevance, I mean that the route that goes through the freight forwarder to be of any, if it changes, if there's another picking type and so on. It will kind of depend on the flow that you mean exactly. If in the end it just goes to your own warehouse, I would say it's only a reception. If it goes to another warehouse, then you would, or another place with another address, then I would say that you have different warehouses. So in that case, I would use another warehouse location. Personally. Maybe if you have more than one warehouse, how do you make sure at the moment of the purchase that it goes to the good warehouse? Maybe that's something that we can show.
Okay.
We don't have enough context to be completely honest, so we try to make hypotheses in this case. Otherwise, we would go on with questions, then why do you need that and so on. But that's the hypothesis that I made. Either it's just a normal reception in your own warehouse, and then there's nothing specific that you should do, in my opinion. You can add that information somewhere that it goes through a certain transport, but that would be a little customization, I think. But I don't think that changes the flow. If you have more than one warehouse or more than one place, then I would work with multiple warehouses.
Exactly. So hoping that actually we are going to answer to the question. But basically here, if you create a new purchase order, what you can do is changing the delivered to receipt here. So if here in this case I have 2 warehouses, I can choose to receive a product, like purchase a product, but receive it in another warehouse. So that actually we create a receipt in warehouse 2 instead of warehouse 1. By default, that will be the warehouse 1 receipt. Why? Because we have on the configuration here, if I go to warehouse, you have warehouse 1, which is the first one in the list. Again. So
Odoo logic.
Yeah, so here on the purchase order, this is why as soon as you create, you have the warehouse 1 receipt that is activated, but you could choose another one and purchase a product, whatever the one you would like to purchase for 20 units, for instance, from a supplier, and confirm. Here, the receipt will be done in warehouse 2.
All
in
right.
this case.
We have extra information on that actually. So what I'm saying is that the vendor does not send it directly to him, but it sends it to the freight forwarder first and then forwards it to him. For me, there are, again, we don't have enough information. Why? Because there is information about, is it already your product while it's forwarded? I suppose, but it will depend. If that's the case, then we need to make sure it's in a warehouse with below a warehouse location, but maybe not possible to send it. So make sure it's not a warehouse stock location, but really a location below warehouse. Another point that's important as well, you could actually create a two-step reception in which you have a warehouse / freight forwarder location, for example. And another question is it valued or not? Again, if it's valued, it needs to be an internal location. If it's not, it should be it should just be another type of location.
Yeah. So we could always, like, if the product is valued in your company as soon as it's reached the forwarder, the freight forwarder, whatever, you could for sure customize the route and make it in different steps, more than 2 steps even, if you want. Maybe
that's annoying for the rest of the products if you don't do that for all your products. Would you use a warehouse or location for that freight forwarder part?
It depends, but for me, like in this case, I even really not sure to understand why you should track the fact that it's at the forwarder place.
That's also a question.
It's not available in your stock. It's not like you cannot do anything about it. The only thing you can do is as soon as it reaches your stock, then you can process the rest of your flow. But basically, the forwarder is mainly the vendor. Basically, the vendor is actually not. So the vendor is the guide at which you buy the product. This guy will actually ship the product to the forwarder, but in the end, what matters for you is when it reaches your stock.
Yeah.
Whatever happening before, you don't really need to know.
For me, it also depends. I was just checking if you didn't answer. Okay, he says it's enough info. But for me, there are so different things to understand. Either why do you do it? Is it because it's already valued? Is it because it should already be seen as quantity on hand but just cannot be reserved? If yes, then you will need to configure something in Odoo. Maybe a warehouse, maybe a location, depends on how you do it for all your other products, I would say. Maybe a warehouse if it's for some products, so that you can buy directly to the good location, do an internal transfer yourself, stuff like that. Maybe a location if you do that for all your products. But if there is no reason of valuation or quantity on hand, just keep it simple.
Yeah,
that's maybe something that we can always say. Keep it simple. Don't make it more complex than what it should be.
Yeah. True, I agree with you. But that was a good question. Thank you for that.
Don't hesitate to continue to add your questions in the meantime. I also see that we have some other questions, guys, rather about Power BI, technical stuff and so on. It's not that we're not seeing you, it's less the topic of today, but we'll keep your question and send it and save them for the other Q&As that are either on all different topics or that are specifically on those topics. I also see quite some things about subcontracting, which is more related to the MRP thing, but maybe we can do a flow of a subcontracting flow.
I can show something on that if needed.
We received different questions on that. So we received a question on YouTube from Shiva, for example. I'm doing subcontracting work for other companies. How can Odoo track raw materials, receipt, manufacturing, delivery, finished or semi-finished, and so on? That's one, but that's maybe even more complex because I have the feeling that in this case she's herself a subcontractor. So that we should actually think of. There is some information about that actually in the MRP Smart class.
But I can actually show exactly like how it could work in Odoo.
Yeah, but you
about this flow maybe.
Yeah.
But if like maybe it's specific, and then you tell me. But
no, I would just show a subcontracting flow right now. Show how that works. Of course, if you want to go way further on how you're gonna labor other invoice and so on, that's a very specific flow, Shiva. So we won't be able to go that far into details because we would have to ask way more questions. But we can show a
how
a
it
normal
works in practice.
subcontracting flow. Maybe
Okay.
some information as well about what subcontracting is.
Yep.
Subcontracting is when you don't produce yourself, but you send out material for somebody else to produce the product and send it back to you. So what's important here will be to make sure that you send the product and the components of the manufacturing, or at least the components that the subcontractor needs. All the things that are already at his place don't have to be added. We don't have to manage, so they're not within the components within Odoo. And then make sure that you receive the end product back. So that's the configuration regarding subcontracting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
maybe you can show a basic
that
flow.
was a correct introduction on the subject. So here, the first thing to do is to go to settings and activate the subcontracting feature. As soon as this is done, as usual, you'll have different routes that will be triggered. So let's go to inventory, configurations and routes. And here you have, for instance, those kind of routes. I will just show you now this to you. So we have these kind of routes, okay? And mainly what is quite important is quite related to what Chloé just mentioned to you, is the fact that you are going to send components to your subcontractor. So how does it work in practice? You have to go first in the manufacturing app, go to bill of material, and here you are able to actually create a bill of material of type subcontracting, right? So what is quite important here is that you have, for instance, let's imagine, I will really take a really simple example. Let's say that we have drone, right? So we have drone here. Let's imagine that we have propellers, we have a battery, and so on and so forth, right?
We're going to have a simple drone today.
Yeah.
We're not going to
So
make it too complex.
As you can see here, I'm trying to save, but I have errors saying that actually I need to inform Odoo about the subcontractor that will be used. So in this case, let's take Vision, for instance. Okay. So here, by just doing this, you are going to have on the product the vendor price list that will be updated with this one and being considered as subcontractor. So if now I go to the product, I will just go there. I will go to purchase. I will just add the Vision vendor here. Okay. And as you can see, I will just save. I will put this one at the first position.
You already know why it needs to be in the first position.
And here you have the subcontracted field, which is a read-only field. Okay, you cannot change it from there, but it's just saying that it is a subcontractor.
Yeah,
right.
It's informative in the end.
What you have is, imagine, I would just check if I have some products here in stock. I have, that's good. And for the battery, I have some in stock as well. Hopefully they're not reserved. That's correct. Oh, it will be a bit more annoying because they're tracked, but anyway, we can do it. Okay.
Maybe don't sell or don't buy that many drones, so you don't have to put a lot of serial numbers. Just buy one.
Yeah. So as you can see here, you have different kinds of routes. The one that I showed you before. Okay, these ones are the one that you can select on the product. But here, what's going to happen is that the drone, basically, you are not going to resupply anything. This is the product that you are going to receive.
Yeah.
So you have to actually use the routes on the components of the bomb. So if I go here on the product drone, bill of material, I will go on the propeller, and on this one, I will activate the resupply subcontractor on order, for instance. Yeah. You could have other possibilities like drop shipping your subcontractor on order and so on and so forth.
So drop shipping would mean that you don't take it in stock, exactly. But that you just ask your supplier to send it directly to your subcontractor.
Exactly.
Right? But in this case, we're going to buy them when we have a need in our stock, so that's why we left the buy route. In this case, we're not going to buy them because we have them already in stock. But we're just going to buy a drone from a subcontractor, and we want Odoo to be smart enough to know that he needs to send out the components to the subcontractor.
Exactly.
very important as long as you don't confirm. That's a basic, but let's remind it as well. Nothing happens as long as it's staying in RFQ. You can still add stuff and so on. All right? Everything is only done once you confirm
Yep,
a
exactly.
purchase order.
So now let's try together. So what I did when Chloé was talking is just adding that route on the second component as well.
Yeah.
So I did exactly the same configuration. So nothing changed here. So now I will confirm. All right. And here you can see that actually I have a resupply button here appearing.
Yeah.
So on the resupply, I see that I have actually to resupply these two components to the subcontractor.
Yeah.
And this is why it's going to the destination location, subcontracting location, right?
Yeah.
Because they will be actually consumed from that subcontracting location to actually have the final product, which is our drone in our case.
Yeah.
Okay? The fact that I put the the vendor on the product drone with showing you the subcontracting field is purely if I had to trigger a purchase order based on a sales order from a customer. Okay.
Yeah.
Here in this case, I'm just creating the purchase order. So I do not really use that automatic buying drones from a customer need. I'm just asking for a new product here from the vendor directly. So here, if I validate this, I can, you are going to deliver the product. That's a good question. That's a good thing as well. You know, now in Odoo, we cannot actually, like you have at least a warning message showing that a product is expired if you have an expiration date on it. But here I will proceed for everything, okay? So you can decide to proceed except for the expired one, but here I will just confirm.
We can maybe come back on that just after.
Yeah.
Don't worry too much. Just forget about that little pop-up.
It's always difficult to know exactly which configuration we have applied on all the products.
We try to add as many as we could to be able to show you in an easy way. But
so now what we would like to see is that we have resupplied the different components for the drone, and now we have the receipt. And on the receipt, we are going to receive our drone. But the first things to do is here recording the components.
Yeah.
What we call about it is like we are going to confirm the
fact that
those one has been consumed at the subcontracting place. So you can here specify that give you the lot and serial number that is actually used. And here what you can do is just to validate. Okay.
Exactly. Just for you to know, that's something that the subcontractor can do on on his own portal.
Yeah, that's possible.
Which also makes sense if you want the subcontractor to do that himself. That's a possibility. We're not going too much into detail in this flow. Know that you can go way more into detail in this flow with the MRP smart class.
Yeah, exactly. But that's at least showing you
the basic flow
that you can do with subcontracting.
Yeah, and then you're gonna receive it. Did you receive?
Yeah, I received it.
Oh yeah, you received it.
So yeah, it's done now. So the product has been moved to input.
Yeah.
And now it can go to stock thanks to the next transfer
exactly.
here directly.
Validate.
Okay, so this is now in our stock and has been actually manufactured by our subcontractor.
Okay, I'm checking the questions a bit here on YouTube. I don't see any extra question. Let me check Twitch. Not specifically. For whatever reason, I managed to close the LinkedIn one. I'm going to check, but in the meantime, we can continue with the survey.
What I will do is that here we are going to jump on a few questions here and answers in a row so that we can cover some of them here. So what should you use to ship a box containing different products? Packagings, both are goods. So here you write, this is package. So package can contain different products, while the packaging is actually attached to a specific product. So a packaging is a bag of, let's say, 6 bottles of waters, for instance. A package is really a box in which you can have different items. And this is what you have when you actually order different products through the e-commerce, for instance, and you have one box with your 3 products you have ordered, for instance. If we jump into another question here, in Odoo 18, how is the cost computed on product form for FIFO product? And here we have only one answer at the moment, but it's not a big deal. We can just discuss about this topic together. So for this part, if we show the right answers, is actually the last one, the average value of unit in stock. So in 5.4, which is for first in, first out, the cost on the product form is the average. Why? Because we would like to maintain a current margin on the sales orders, while before we had only the next cost of the product that will move out. It's not really relevant when you move more than 10 products, for instance, and you do not have a right.
Maybe to go a bit further on that one. So there are two different things. When we say the cost on the cost of a product, you need to differentiate the cost that you have on the product with the value that you actually have in stock. Exactly. All right. So those are two different things. You have the cost on your product. Maybe you can show where to configure that kind of information. So how you're gonna do the valuation of your stock.
Yep. So
and then the value in your stock. There are 3 ways to value your stock. It's always on the product categories. I'll let you maybe explain
you can
that.
Continue. I will just put it on the screen.
You show it. We have the costing method here. So if you just take the one that's the standard price, nothing is done for you. You decide on what the cost is of that product. You can already include the landed cost, so you don't have to add them on that. That's maybe an interesting one for that dropship one, where you wanted to add landed cost. As we don't really have the way to do that, you could just create a cost on your product that makes sense, that includes all the different costs, and that's fixed over time. You can then decide when you change that cost on your product. And then you have Odoo working for you, if I can say it like that. It's either a FIFO costing method or an average cost. Let's take an example with FIFO. Let's imagine you take 1 unit of a product at a price of 20 in your stock. 1 times 20, you have a valuation of 20. You take then a second product with FIFO, not average cost. See it. So we stay in the FIFO the logic. Then you take another unit of that same product at 10. Your full value will be 30 in this case, 20 plus 10. When the product will go out of your stock, it entered first at 20. So the first unit that will go out at a cost of 20, and the second will go out at a cost of 10. All right? So that's what happens valuation-wise. On the cost of your product, so the field cost on the product, it's always calculated based on the average cost, not the value that you decided to put, it's not going to follow the FIFO logic, it's going to follow an AFCO logic, just because at the moment that you sell, you don't really know which unit will be will go out of stock. You don't know which sale order will go out of stock first, and so on. So in this case, if we take the FIFO logic, where you had in total 30 euros valued when your 2 products were in stock, and you have 2 sale orders, both would be with a margin above a cost of 15. Why 15? Because 10 plus 20 divided by 2 is 15. So that's the average cost logic. So that makes your margin way correcter, because in the end, everything that went out of your stock went at an average cost out of your stock, and you took your margin on that. All right, just important to know that, because it worked differently in other versions. And the AFCO, if we take exactly the same example, the first one comes in at 20, the second one comes in at 10. You have an average of 15 per product. So the first unit that will go out at 15. So this is again about valuation, and it would work exactly on the sale order in this case, because it follows the same logic. All right.
Exactly.
Maybe something more. Correct. It has nothing to do with the removal strategy.
Yeah, that's
that we can introduce as well.
See as well here as well. Yeah.
We have other removal strategies. Also the FIFO. There is also LIFO, but it's less used. That's what you told me last time as well. Other possibilities. That's the way you're gonna put your physical product out of your stock. All right. So how you're gonna calculate at which cost a product goes out of stock is the costing method in Odoo. How you gonna manage the picking of your product and which product you're gonna pick, that's the removal strategy. Okay, so that's what you physically do in the end, and which product you're going to physically take out of stock. Nothing to do with the costing in the end. Those are 2 different things.
Yeah, that was a really good explanation. And basically here we have different possibilities. We won't go to all of them. You can check on the Odoo documentation as well. It's really well explained what is the difference between those ones. Most of the time you are using the FIFO, but when you use, for example, product as with expiration date, as we have seen in our previous error message, I would say, is that you will actually would like to move the product out from your stock when it's when the removal date is actually the one that you would like to target.
Maybe something very important for that. If you work with FEFO, FIFO, LIFO, you need traceability to be activated.
Sure.
And when we say traceability, it's not traceability just on quantity, but traceability on a serial number or lot number. Just to differentiate both, to make sure we speak about the same. A serial number is unique. You see it here by unique serial number. So one unit has a serial number and only that unit will have that serial number. A lot is a group of similar products have a same serial number, and you want to introduce something that's new in Odoo 18. We're pretty proud of it, right?
Yeah, because it is something that has been asked a lot.
A lot.
So now in Odoo, we have the possibility to value the product by lot and serial number, which is really convenient. And it means that actually you can really pilot actually the value of your lot if you would like to change it at some point, because it has a lot that is for a long time in your stock. You would like to revalue it and so on and so forth. You can really do it. And in terms of margins and stuff, it will be computed as well based on what is actually taken from our stock. So that's really cool, these new features that we have now. And also to explain a bit more on the expiration, I don't think it's I activated it here, so that's so good, because we saw that.
So again, if you don't see something on your database that we see on ours, know that we are an 18.0 version, so it can be the version, it can be a configuration or an app that's not activated that we would have here and that you don't have. We don't have any customization or development, so that can't be the case. We only have standard features from Odoo over here. Maybe the developer mode can be something as well. So just think about that when you're checking it out, or access rights. Good list to keep, by the way, because it's always one of those reasons. There are not imaginary reasons somewhere, so just keep that somewhere. It can already help. It can always help.
Yeah. And just to finish on this part, you know that on the inventory tab here, you have traceability with the expiration date, on which you can really pilot here the different dates that you would like to set on your lots or serial numbers when receiving them. This is really convenient, and that gives you the kind of message that we had before, like, this lot or serial number is expired. What do you want to do? Do you want to still use it, or do you want to proceed without it? This will be based actually on the expiration date, and the removal date will be used for the removal strategy that we talked before. Actually, this removal date is the one that should be targeted to know which product should be moved out from the stock when picking them.
Do you know that I just realized why you said why it's called removal date? I always had to think about which date is the one that you take out. I knew it was the removal one, but I never thought about the removal strategy. Actually, it seems logical when Louis explains it, right? It seems very logical. Now you won't forget it anymore. Good. I see that we don't have that much time left. Maybe we can. I don't see any extra questions currently within the different Q&A possibilities. So you can just finish, I think, the Q&A, check the ones that are interesting.
I think here we just see that no many answers are coming in now. So do not hesitate. Even if you do it later, we'll leave it open. Because it's quite good for us as well to know what are the good answers that you provide, or the things that is not clear. So it's always good to know. So do not hesitate to continue on that.
Maybe a little topic to close, because I see that we have around 7 minutes left. One that's always the case: packages and packagings. Come on, that looks almost the same. But it's almost the same, but it's not the same.
But I actually already talked about it when you were looking at the
and I was looking at the question. Okay. Then maybe you can go over the other things. We have the wave, batch, and so on. Maybe just explain the difference between those, and then...
So here as you probably know, or maybe not, on the operation types, you have the possibility to group in a different ways your transfers or your product that you have to pick. For instance, if I go to the operation type picking here, I will just check the time as well to make sure that I can explain to you. So you have the auto batch here. That gives you the possibility to group the product that you have to pick by batches, which is actually grouping your transfers, while you have the wave grouping that actually groups your stock move line, as we call. So this is the really the product, the detail of the product that you would like to group. You have to group them by product or by product category, by location. Those things are really, really important when you would like to really optimize the way you pick your product. So do not hesitate to look at the documentation about this. This is really relevant when you have a lot of products to manage and pick at the same time.
In the end, the batch, wave, and there is another one, which there is
batch, wave, cluster picking.
And cluster
well,
picking.
But it's not
no, it's a bit different. Those are just ways of improving the way you're gonna pick the different products when you need them for delivery, for example. All right.
All right. I think it's time to finish already.
We have
2 hours. I don't know if we still have to continue or if it's okay. I think we are reaching 2 hours just now. So I think it's time to close this.
To say goodbye.
We'll be happy to actually do another one.
Yeah.
If you are interested in, we'll be happy because we have a lot of subject to cover again.
Yeah, we were discussing it. I think that we could go on for hours, but that's not what we're gonna do today. So we really hope that you enjoyed it. Don't hesitate to let us know if that little survey way of working was interesting. If you like to have also Odoo insiders on specific topics, because it's something that we normally open on all types of questions. We wanted to decide that. We saw some comments already, but don't hesitate to continue to add them. Yeah. And it was very enjoyable for us to spend some time with you. Time flew by. How do you say it?
I don't know.
Whatever.
We understand.
You understood. So it was very fun for us. I hope it was as much for you. And see you later, maybe.
See you later, guys. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.